Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tinette Cortez, and welcome to today's episode on online dating etiquette for everyone. Today is a very special episode because we have three special guests who will be sharing their great stories with us. Before I introduce our guests, I'd like to invite my co host, Donna. Can you please come in, join me? Are you there?
Hi, we apologize for the technical difficulties.
How are you
It
today?
was a pleasure to be here today with you, Jeanette, and I'm so excited for this episode.
Yes, it's kind of
Good
unique.
afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, so good afternoon to everybody in the Philippines and Australia because one of our guests this afternoon is from Australia and he and his family and their friends are all watching us as well. So, welcome. So, Donna, before we introduce our guests, I have a question to ask you.
As long as it's not math.
It's definitely not math. Do you believe that you can actually fall in love with somebody you've never met in person?
Really? I
I
mean, that's I guess especially these days, it's so believable because we're all confined at our homes. We're homeliners the past 3 months, so I guess that's the only way to go now.
Wow, wow, guys, if you're watching, it's possible to actually start an exciting journey in dating. Tama ba, Don? I mean, it's really true that you can fall in love. Well, okay, we'll talk about that later. I guess without delaying it too much, let's introduce our guests this afternoon. Our first guest from New South Wales in Australia, I'd like to introduce Matthew Greenrod. Matt, can you please say hello to everybody? Matt here is a teacher. He's a school teacher in Australia and he works well with the kids. He's also very active in church and he's happily married with his Filipino wife. Yeah.
Wow.
So, Matt, are you there? We need to unmute him just a second.
Okay.
There you go.
Hi everyone, wonderful to be on this show and sharing my experience and uh, ideas as well.
Right.
Cool. How's the weather down under?
Oh, it's very cold here actually. Each morning we have ice on our lawns and my window on the car is icy as well. So yeah, it's pretty cold. Mm,
It's the exact opposite here. Here it's sweltering. It's very
sure.
Very hot. Okay, so thank
Yeah,
nice
you
to
okay.
see.
for being with us this afternoon. Right. So now our next guest is, of course, a also another professional. She's a communications expert. She's also an entrepreneur, and she's of course part of the Consult Asia Group as our managing partner in Subic and Clark, Miss Carmine Ortega. Carmine, hello there.
Hi,
Hi, good afternoon.
Carmine.
Hi, everyone.
Good afternoon, Carmine. How are you today? Really?
Good, good. It's a Saturday, so it's relaxed, less busy, but of course, as you know, we're always doing something.
Course. All right, thank you, Carmine. And of course, the last but not the least, I had to give a
Of
little
course.
because I can't remain serious when I introduce this person, right? So our third guest is actually a how would I describe him, Donna? He was. I mean, if you guys are in my generation, if you're a Gen Xer, what's this? He was a That's Entertainment boy back in the 80s, right?
Yeah, Wednesday group, if I'm not mistaken. No.
He's an actor. He's so famous that when he's around, you just completely forget who you are because his presence is just so overwhelming, right? He's like the sun, too much, too hot as well. So
Too hot to handle. So let's see.
let's introduce Mr. Jovit Moya. Jovit, come on down.
Ano
Hi.
ba? Hello? I haven't even taken off my shirt yet. What? Anong handle? Di pa ako naguhubad.
Oh my,
Let's see.
how are you today?
I am well. I actually just woke up about an hour ago. So etong bagong gising at ako'y fresh pa. Uh, waiting
Woke
for
up
my
like this.
brunch to be delivered. At pag-uusapan natin ang dating.
Okay, so let's get on.
Ito ang tanong dyan, meron bang forever sa online?
Sasagutin mo yan later. You're gonna have to answer that later, okay? So the first question, I think it's gonna be for everybody. How effective are online dating sites or platforms in finding someone you can truly connect with? Whether it's, just for dating, or a relationship, or even marriage. Maybe we should start with Matt. Would you like to start with this question? How effective?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Look, it's a really good question too, and you ponder it as a young person, or when you're younger or you're not married. I think a lot, and it seems to, in some ways, can easily consume your thinking and your lifestyle. And where am I going to find, or how am I going to find that person that you can commit to for life? But online dating, I would suggest, is obviously considerably effective. I mean, I don't think it's the only way, but I do think, and personally, it's been very good. It's given me great happiness in my life. I was on a number of, say, more local ones within Australia, maybe within where I was based in Adelaide. I tried some more local ones, but they were good. But yeah, I suppose they didn't really give me, you don't want to, the people are beautiful, but you also don't want to, I think the word is treat them as a thing. And so, but we talk about there's plenty of fish in there, or there's more fish in the sea. If you have a bad experience, then people will suggest there's more fish in the sea, sort of thing. And so dating, or at least online, you can see, I don't want to use that word get rid of, or sort of, you can be more targeted, I suppose. Maybe that's a nicer way to say it, where with your values, with your faith, you can be more targeted, because people presumably are upfront with who they are. And I think that's another key thing, is that you're honest with your photo, with your profile and your blurb and so on. And then you can read that, and then you can say, yeah, I think this is a genuine person. I think this is someone that I could spend, certainly want to spend a little bit more time with. And so online dating, personally, and I'm sure for many others, it can be very, very fruitful experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
I hope that's enough.
Yeah, that's well said, because you can actually target the right person that you think would be attractive for you. And you could streamline it based on your faith, your beliefs, your interests. So at least you have something to talk about, even before you go on a date. When you first chat with that person, you've already have a common ground. So that's a good answer. Thank you, Matthew.
No, I absolutely agree with him as well, because it's true that sometimes if you don't have a specific profile in mind, then you just end up talking to different people with no direction or no objective, and this can
Just shopping. Swipe left, swipe right.
Yes, I'm sorry, Tina, I didn't quite pick up that. The audio wasn't very strong.
Sometimes you just shop for like somebody interesting that you find online. I don't know, Carmine, is that true with you? Do you just do you have a specific profile in mind, or do you just browse through the available matches that you have?
Well, first, before we get into profiles that we like, I think it's important to know why you are there, whether you're there just to date, just to meet people, or to find the one. So that has to be clear to you, and then you can get into profiles. And to answer the question on whether it's effective or not, I'd say it is, and I take my cue from at least 5 or 6 couple friends that I know who have met online and have married each other. So, I mean, the odds aren't very high, but there's that statistic, there's a small percentage. It could happen to you.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. I like what you said, that you have to be clear with why you're there. Because if you're there just to date, then at least you know the boundaries to set, right? You know the limits to set. But if you're really looking for the one, if you're out there looking for that special person, then again you'll have to present yourself in a different manner, right? And as what Matthew said earlier, you have to be more targeted in your search. Okay, and we can get more tips later. So exciting. Okay, Jovin, are you meditating over there, or
I
are you
am looking at my brunch.
You're meditating on brunch.
okay? So
Saka
just
sumasagot ako ng sangkaterbang mga emails.
what
Anyway, ano ba pinag-usapan? What were we talking about? Sorry. Online dating. The advantage para sa akin ng online dating is that it has a wider reach. So you'll probably get to see more people than you would have on a regular day of you commuting from your house to your work, to the grocery or wherever. And because it's a dating site, most of the time we go to dating sites because it's a dating site or because it's an online forum, it's easier to approach the person. I mean, it'll be weird if you're in a grocery, you're like, hi, you're cute. You want to go have dinner? Parang weird, diba? I mean, hey, stalker, hello, this person. All the bells are like, alarms. Pero
Alarms.
Online,
Danger.
all of you in the same place, looking for, at least you assume that all of you are there for the same thing. So, lumalawak lang yung menu, kumbaga. Di ba? Alam mo, ultimately, when you analyze dating is all about collecting and then selecting, right? You get to meet as many people. You collect people that you interact with. You collect people that you think, oh, I like this. Oh, I like that, right? And as you go along, you start slashing the ones that you probably would not get along with.
Not
And then
this, not this.
right? So the process of collecting becomes wider. You cast a wider net. There are more choices, so to speak, on the menu. Pero, syempre, marami rin downfall yan. Downfall yan, I don't know if you guys used to watch a series called House MD. Dr.
Yes.
House. Yeah, everybody remember this? Dr. House had one thing he always said in almost every episode.
Everybody lies.
Everybody lies. Very good. Very good. Very good. So it's easier to lie online because it's not very personal. It has this barrier.
The barrier.
Right? So there's a psychological barrier that says, look, this person is not looking at my cues. You can't tell if they're fidgeting with their hands, if they're having if they're looking nervous, especially if it's not a video, if it's just all typing. This is why there are so many weird people online, because they can take on personas that that in person they would never be able to get away with.
right?
Diba? Many people are insecure. Not everybody has a boisterous personality like me. Just makapalamukha talaga. But seriously, many people have insecurities, and online it offers them a chance to play a role that they think this person they're chatting with would like. The problem is when you translate that into real life, if dumating na yung panahon magmi-meet sila, how do you reconcile this made up image of yourself to the real you?
So yeah, how do you that one?
I said the person you're chatting with was.
Can you recover from that?
I said the person you're chatting with started liking the persona that you made, not you, not the real you.
So, and this is why I posted that question at the beginning of the show, whether it's possible to fall in love with somebody whom you've never met in person or not. I'm gonna ask Matthew here because Matthew ended up with the love of his life. Matt, how long were you dating Rose online before you actually met each other? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So it's a good question. Well, we were basically maybe 3-4 months at most before we met face to face. And so around January 2011, and so we met online, the profile clicking, and yeah, originally texting and messaging, and then we did Skyping, and then yeah, we met in person around Easter of that year, and I flew to Singapore, which is where Rose was based at that stage, and then together we flew to the Philippines where her family was, and so we met. I met her family, and that was very nice. And then I think, dare I say, I even proposed. I think I even proposed on the flight back, like at least in Singapore on the way back. I remember it was we were at a church, we were at adoration, and yeah, got down on one knee and proposed when when Jesus was being presented, said not now sort of thing, and I was like, oh, are you sure not now? But no, we got to talk, and she agreed, but I'd have to check with her about the particular details, but certainly that was the gist of it. And it was, yeah, it was very exciting, very good time and trip, and really fruitful. Yeah, very positive.
You see, online dating can be very successful, as Matt has demonstrated. But you see, it requires also something that he's got, that they both have. It's called honesty.
Mm-hmm.
You see, as long as you are upfront, you are honest, there's no reason why you can't fall in love with someone, you can't find someone that you like. Really.
Yeah, actually,
But,
I just a very important question for Matt here, because Matt, you mentioned earlier that you were also on a local site when you were back in Adelaide, and of course you were meeting other ladies online. But what set Rose apart? I'm just curious, because for the ladies listening or watching, it would be a very good tip.
Yeah.
Good question.
Watching right now want to find the love of their life. So maybe from a man's perspective, what is it that you were struck with Rose that set her apart from everyone else?
Yeah, I picked up a bit of that. I picked up enough of your question to fulfill the answer. So my story is considerably different in terms of I studied to be a priest for probably almost in dating and in that sort of part of life. So I was maybe around 32 years old, and I was at that stage keen, and you're not getting any younger sort of thing. So I met different women and dated, I would say, I don't know, a considerable number of women, but certainly I was on the lookout for someone to match with. And so, yeah, I tried a number of websites and dating sites. But I suppose learning about myself, and of course my father recommended it as well, we used the website catholicmatch.com, and in that website it's considerably very strong that you're a practicing Catholic, that you agree to devotion to Our Lady, to the Holy Father, Eucharistic and the sacraments. So it's a pretty rock solid Catholic website. Anyone who's on there that isn't Catholic, or at least is not practicing, would probably feel a bit uncomfortable, because it's just so sort of Catholics, quite conservative, if you like. So then you're meeting, you see those profiles, and then what was Rose's killer aspect? I suppose she really, apart from ticking the 7 boxes that make you a full website, she had those, I suppose it's like examples, she brings her faith to life. And so people aren't, so many of us can say we're Catholic, or you can say whatever, you're devoted to football teams or whatever, like sort of thing. But then, at least in my behalf, you want to see that, how does that come actually into your life? It's like the interpretation of words. Some people, we all say things, but how much of that are you? So where's the examples? Where's the evidence in your life? And really, I suppose, in her profile and then in understanding her over the the months, I sort of saw that in her life. She came from a good family, and that's always a good help. Um, yeah, so I think all of those things really helped me to see Rose, and obviously I find her attractive as well. You know, there has to be and a physical attraction. I think that's fair to say, and yeah, so I think that's right.
Right. Wow. Thank you, Matt. So there you have it. Thank you. Donna, what do you
That's nakakakilig. that's a, that's a good story. And I think what I hearing our panelists say is that you have to disclose the truth. You have to tell the truth and be upfront. And you have to know why you're there, like what Carmine said, so that you could be targeted with what you're looking for. And because you know what you're looking for, then chances are you might be able to find it versus to do the other side that you don't know what you're looking for, you're just there to browse, then you might not find what you're looking for because you don't know what it is. So
Well, the nice thing also is that if they went on a website, which is a Catholic website. So more or less, when you go on to that website, you already know that half your checklist has already been checked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
versus a
so
more
it
generic one.
takes away half the guessing. It makes things a little faster.
Exactly.
It goes on. I mean, you can go progress to the from the how do you do's to the oh hi. Hey. What are you doing? You feel closer because you find something that common ground in many things. It's like a fraternity or a sorority. You immediately, when you meet someone from a fraternity like me, I'm a Freemason. So when I meet another Freemason, I immediately just warm up. Just like Matt, he went to the website. They're all Catholics, devout Catholics. So when they get there, it's all warm and fuzzy because you already know that more or less people have a
You
similar
click.
mindset. Yes, you click.
Mhm.
A true relationship, is a union of hearts and minds. It's not a union of sexual organs or of anything else. It's really of hearts and minds. That's
PG.
no, I know, Tinette. I was being as academic as I can.
going back to my
No, but seriously, because at the end of the day, if you're going to live together for a very long time, you should have similar interests. It's not true that opposites attract. Opposites will attract only in a very short time because it provides novelty. But if you want a long-term relationship, you should be able to share things together. And you can only do that if you have the same likes, if you have the same minds, if you have a similar mindset. When people say, "Oh, opposites attract," yes, in the short term because it's exciting, it's something new. But eventually, you'll find that all that clashing every so often becomes tiresome.
So again, Jovit, Carmine, Matthew, going back to my original question, is it possible to fall in love with somebody whom you've never met?
Wait. Let's go back. Let's go analyze this on a neurological perspective. Love. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I teach this.
Enlighten us.
Is it possible to fall in love? Yes or no? I want to hear from all three of you. Jovit,
There is no scientific way to say yes. As a scientist, I cannot just say yes. A philosopher would probably be able to quantify that in yes or no, but I have to lay down the parameters. An answer must have parameters. So one of the things that make us fall in love is a hormone called oxytocin.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the love hormone. In fact, when a mother sees their child handles their baby, a newborn baby for the very first time, that mother is flowing with oxytocin. You can actually measure this in the blood of the mother. Oxytocin on visual cues will flow, but in very small quantities. Oxytocin really is a touchy hormone. It requires person-to-person touching for it to flow. fully, that nice gushing flow of oxytocin. So online, you may like a person, but really falling in love with that person requires meeting that person. You see, that's because you may be very, very fond of this person. You may be totally into this.
Head over heels in love.
Yeah, head over heels. But to establish that love, that bonding, it requires a hormone called oxytocin. You see, love per se, once you are together with your partner, you're on a date, you're together, you're looking at each other eye to eye, or hugging each other, oxytocin is flowing, serotonin is flowing, dopamine is flowing, and a little bit of adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
Yeah, because that's the heart. When you get those butterflies, you see, that's the neurological perspective of
You know what?
of love.
But to interrupt you, sorry. I just got an interesting comment from our audience. Is that okay? Because this is related to what you're saying.
No, it's not. The audience is not allowed to participate.
From John Paredes, and right? Boris from Cebu. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Bong.
Okay. I'm afraid it is impossible to quantify love in an objective manner. And
Yes.
even the oxytocin explanation that Mr. Moya is explaining, I agree with him though. Oh, grabe.
There's really no way to quantify love, because love by itself is relative. The way I fall in love is not the same way you will fall in love. You see, we are all a product of our upbringing. Yes. So, like, for example, Matt is a devout Catholic. So his view of love in a relationship may be different from someone who is an atheist or someone who is a Buddhist, right? Because our upbringing, every experience that we have in our education, our family, all of this forms our personality. So each of us have a different personality, and therefore how we fall in love will be different. If we all fell in love the same way, if we all thought the same way, this would be a bloody boring world.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Cheryl made a comment. How about Miss Carmine's perspective? Been waiting here. So
I'm sorry,
I
I
have a
talked too
lot of
much.
fans.
So they also want to hear the ladies' perspective. What do you say about this? Is it possible to actually fall in love with somebody you've never met in person?
I don't think it's possible. I agree with Jovit. You can get to a level where you really like the person, but then you hold off at that point. You wait till the time that you actually meet each other, and maybe some realities will kick in. You wake up to. I mean, you finally meet the person. Who knows? He might stink to you, right? That or
He snores loudly.
too short, after all, too short for your taste. So I think you can earmark, like, okay, I like this person enough to meet this person, and then you take it from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Alam mo, to add to that, alam mo, women, on a woman's perspective, women use all five senses, especially smell. You would like to smell your man. There are scents which are very attractive to females.
That's
Correct?
Are those the pheromones or something else?
We are all animals, so we all pretty much have the same thing. But I'm saying is that women use all five senses. Men sometimes they can be in love with the idea of falling in love. But women, yeah, right. Men can be especially when you're lonely. When you're lonely, you can be in love with the idea of falling in love. But women really, you can be infatuated. We are all, men or women, we can all be infatuated with this partner that we have online. But eventually, really, you would want to meet that person and use all of your senses, especially smell.
So for the guys out there, always take a bath.
No, wait. It's not always about that. Sometimes it's the natural oils
Really?
Natural sense of men, which are sexy. There are
Okay.
studies. There are studies that show that certain women are attracted to certain scents.
Okay.
So of
To
course, it's
hold
all
up on
different. It's all
showers?
relative. You know, the thing about humans is that there's no one size fits all. Okay, when it
Especially
comes to human
culturally.
behavior,
Yeah, I get.
human behavior is so hard to. It's so difficult to study because we're all different, and there's so many extraneous variables to consider.
Yeah, that's fair.
That
So
is so
you
true.
could say
And that
something
discussion
about
on scent is really interesting, very interesting, because I read somewhere that when somebody kind of smells like your family, and I'm talking about scents, okay, you are not attracted to that person because we were created to not mate with family. You get it? So if
That the compatibility, yes, by
yes.
scent.
So if somebody smells differently from you, differently from your brother or your father, then you are more attracted to that person. It's really interesting.
Mm,
So, but
I,
since
I
it's
think I think
impossible,
there was a study.
look at
I
the
think there was a
area.
study done on that.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. So who knew that an online dating talk would be a lecture on neurology? That is so true.
I
Well,
think Jeanette wants to say something.
Can you hear me?
Now we
yes.
Yes, it's
can.
better now.
I think pag nagsasabay kami ni Judith, hindi ako naririnig. So,
Yeah, probably.
ano. Okay.
I have, I have that, Tinette, I have that effect.
I can smell you from here. I guess
I
going
just woke up. I haven't showered yet.
I
Is
want
anybody connected to that?
with our viewers the perspective of a lady when it comes to presenting herself online. Okay, because of course the men, don't need makeup, no, on their photos. But Carmine, for you, what would you advise our female viewers when it comes to presenting themselves online, so that of course if they want to find the love of their life or a good,
Okay.
yeah, maybe you can
Well,
share.
we have a few slides to show, and this is a tip. I have tips for creating your dating profile, your online dating profile. So can I share those slides?
Great.
Okay.
All
Here you go.
right. Can everybody hear me?
yes.
All right. So these are my tips for anyone who wants to date online. And there are 3 pointers. So your dating profile is composed of 3 things usually. Depending on the app, depending on the website, there are 3 major parts to it. So the first one is your photos, followed by your description, and then followed by anything extra, because there are sites that include your height, your weight, your ethnicity, or even your zodiac sign. So, but I will focus only on the first 2 things, your photos and your description. And this applies to men and women as well. Okay, so let's look at photos. First of all, so we're big on honesty here, okay, and authenticity. So when you put photos, your photos should be current. And when I say current, the photos should be 12 months old, max, or less. Okay, to me that's what current means. Do not post a photo of you that was 5 years ago when your waistline was so much smaller, when you were cuter. Okay, and then the next one is yeah, can we pull down the, okay, you should be happy and smiling and not emo in your photos. You should show that you're a fun person to be with. And again, of course, it has to be true that you are a fun person to be with.
But that's cultural because Russians don't smile in their photos.
True too. So then I
Eastern
think,
Europeans are not known
this
for
is just
smiling.
being true. If you want to attract somebody who is also happy and smiling, then you should be happy and smiling. Don't use those photos where you have bunny ears or whiskers, or where you're emo and not smiling and pulling off a duck face. Those are not cool, really. And then this is really important to me. You have to show variety in your photos. So you have to have a combination of selfies and non-selfies, indoors and outdoors, maybe just sitting and smiling, and then maybe also working or, playing sport. You should have a close up, maybe a medium shot or a full body shot to show all of you. Don't just post your face, and especially not filtered. I have a combination of made up and not made up photos in work clothes and also in more casual clothes. And yeah, so that's what the final bullet shows. Show yourself in casual, office wear, or in sporty attire. Now let's go to your description. So the description is it's almost like a tweet. You have a very limited space to describe yourself. Okay, so you have to make every word count when you are working on your description. So you have to have substance. You cannot say things that take away credibility, your credibility. For example, I don't know why I'm here, right? There's no substance in that. Or I'm a simple girl. Like, why would you say that? Or I'm a kind, caring person. Those things are given. So say something that is unique to you, that makes you stand out. Okay. Next, we have speak for yourself. Do not start with, my friends describe me as, or my friends say I am. Like, they don't care whether, whatever your friends think of you. It should be you describing yourself. You should show that you know yourself. And then be specific. Yeah, I think I mentioned this. Be specific, forget what should be given. Part of my description is I love a good laugh. Okay, so I love a good laugh over latte or a mojito. I say that. So in one sentence, I am saying that I like to laugh. I'm a fun person to be with. If you're fun, then great. And especially if you like a latte or a mojito. So that's just one sentence, but then you've given 3 things about you. And then finally, focus on what you like and what you enjoy. Don't say things like, I don't like drama, right? Don't start with that. So focus on what you like. I think with such a description, you will likely attract the right person. Now, these are my top tips. And this is whether you're dating online or not. Yes, the next slide, please. This is whether you're dating online or not. So first of all, be authentic, love yourself, and then it's okay if the person you met is not the one. That's okay. Even in real life, in the face-to-face setting, we cannot expect to hit it off with everyone. That would be weird if we hit it off with everyone. And in fact, I think it's good to finally know whether that person is the one or not, right? Isn't that good? I think that's good. And finally, we have all these requirements about the other person. You have to be nice, you have to be a good provider or responsible, you have a good job, you're sporty, you're fit, whatever. But it's also important to expect the same for yourself. We cannot expect these things if we are not these things. So my best advice really is to work on yourself first. Be happy with yourself first, and that way you can be ready for the one. Thank you.
I'd like to add a little bit. And
Can you hear me?
I used to have a professor who posted on his profile that says, if your PhD is not in a science, please don't bother. This is the guy who was divorced twice. But at least he's very straightforward, and there was no pretension of being nice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have some comments. Guys, can you hear me? I think I have some problems with my audio. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have some comments from our viewers, from Bong again. He agrees with you, Jovit. sense of smell is uber important. And he says, Mr. Moy and I need to have a long discussion on this subject, or any subject for that matter. He sounds like a lot more fun now than he was a couple of decades ago.
Well, a couple of decades ago, I was teaching in local universities, but now I teach in New Zealand.
Okay, so what about, I want to hear the story. Carmine, thank you so much for your tips. I think our lady viewers have picked up a lot of useful tips.
I hope so. Yes.
But I also want to invite Matt at this point to share his slide. Are you still going to share your slides, Matt? Or I know that you've prepared. Oops. Sorry.
Matt is muted.
Yeah, Matt, we can't hear you.
No, Matt, you have to click the unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Can
Yeah,
hear you.
yeah.
Yes. And so I don't think those slides are available because of one reason or another. But basically, yeah, I'm answering them as like what the slides would be. And so yeah, we had the whether online dating is effective, and so I think we've talked about that. It was partly sharing our story. Rose was asking me about the etiquette of online dating. And I think Carmine really brought all of those to life. But I think too, also, if you do make a mistake in your profile, you know, that's a little bit of okay because, and if you're unprepared, if it wasn't perfect, then that also indicates what that person is reflecting as well, where they might go into different ventures in life and they're a little bit unprepared. So just as, and they might not give finding the one such priority, you know, because like this is the thing, if you are prepared and you've done some research, then you seem to the person, the individual and the person, you're making that time and effort and you do want to find that one. But if you just want to find one night hookup sort of thing, or, you know, other sort of other reasons why people use online dating, well, then that indicates that as well. And your language and your profile and your description will show that as well. So that's part of the discerning of online dating. And if you want it to be effective, you yourself have to spend that time to present yourself with that balance, understanding, you know, the picture that you portray, the language that you use, and all of those things. You know, it's like the classic using words here, but my mannerism, which even like the twist in my head, the emphasis I give in words, all of that plays a part in who you are as a person. And, you know, you're forever reading other people, other individuals and genders and so on. So I think, see what Jovit was talking about, where your upbringing shows you a lot of that, to be understanding and to finding that the one. Because online dating, we talk about this, the love. Well, love is not so, it's not like necessarily what our culture presents it as. And you can very easily come unstuck because, say, with the smell, well, different cultures, different families, we all have individual smells. And I suppose, well, love will get over that. You know, you still love the person overall. They have a bit of a smell that you might not really go for, but, you know, all things being considered, at some stage you have to say, I'm really committed to this person, despite the habit that they have of doing this, or despite that they're not very good with money, or, you know, different things that come up. And love will sort of butter over that, or forgive and excuse the person. I mean, the other thing is, I'm not perfect. Gosh, you know, I'm sure there are things that people, and Rose, if you like, aren't overly impressed. In many ways, I find it similar to looking for the right, like, employers, employees. You know, you're reading the job description. There's lots of similarities in that. And in my own profession, I'm a casual teacher. So I move through lots of staff rooms. I meet lots of teachers, principals, and ultimately they're all looking for the right staff room. You know, you can get a job offer, but actually we don't really want to work in that school for particular whatever reason. Then another school you do want to work at, but they don't really want to, they're not accepting your skills. So gosh, it's really sort of finding that harmony in life that you can really commit to, and that you feel this is worthwhile. I like this classroom, I like these kids, I like this clientele, and so on. So you don't want to complicate things, because yeah, you can find the one, but then you do want to get some of those other nitty-gritty sorted out.
Well, thank you so much for that, Matt. Now, wow, I'm really
I agree. I agree.
okay.
May I just add? I agree, especially when he said that, you know, it's not all about just the five senses, and it's not all about the sense and all of that, because human beings are cognitive creatures. That's why we have the prefrontal cortex. We're here to think, and as I mentioned earlier, it's a union of hearts and minds. So attraction can be reinforced by the five senses. You know, when you look at a person's face, there's symmetry. You smell the person by touching the person. All of this reinforces attraction. But eventually, love is really born out of a physical interaction. You know, this, again, physical requires oxytocin, and a union of hearts and minds, you know, having the same wants, having the same aspirations in life, having a union which requires, you know, supporting each other. You know, a relationship, love, when you commit to a relationship, love is not an anchor. It shouldn't be there to bring one person down or the other person. It's not to enslave you. Love is supposed to be able to have two people become one and yet maintain who they are without losing who they are, right? And when you merge as one, you should be able to encourage each other to grow in every facet of your humanity, academically, spiritually, financially, you know, socially. It should be that. It shouldn't be a prison wherein, oh, you're not supposed to go out. No, just stay here. I'm the only person you should talk to. No, that's not love. That's selfishness, right? Yeah. So true love is being able to make each other grow, being able to unite as one, and yet without giving up your individuality. That's just my two cents. I don't know.
Thank you for and you know, one thing I like about what you said is it's not just limited to online dating. It's actually love in general, you know, like even when
online dating is just the beginning. It is not, you know, it is not the end all. You know, online dating just opens doors for you, right? Mm-hmm. But eventually you'll still need to meet this person face to face, right? Because really, unless you are so evolved that you are willing to have a platonic relationship with a person and just in an entirely cerebral point, you know, union, then by all means, the partner can be in Russia, you could be in Timbuktu, and you could just have a relationship, and a long, meaningful relationship. Relationships vary. Again, it's person to person. I'm incapable of a platonic relationship. I'm just, you know, I really need face-to-face time. So it really depends. We go back to circumstances, upbringing, your environment, your personality, all the other variables.
Okay. Yeah. No. Thank you very much. That's very, very helpful, Jovit. Guys, how do you protect yourselves from scammers? I mean,
from what?
From scammers. Because I heard so many horror stories. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what the video call.
That question first.
Victimized by some scammers who were asking for money or, you know, whatever. Carmine?
Well, first, first I consider online dating safe. Okay, others might think otherwise, but I think it's safe because the physical distance is given. Now, when it's time to meet the person, then you have to take extra precautions. So you meet the person, right? And when you do, you have to meet the person somewhere public where you can have an easy exit, in case things don't go very well. Now, it also happens when you chat for some time before you can actually meet. And I've met I've experienced this, somebody trying to ask money from me. He says he's an investor. He was in Manila, but he just left for somewhere, and then he will be gone for a month, and then we'll be back. So great, he's based in Manila. He'll be back in Manila. And then so we chatted for regularly, maybe every day, every other day, and then he went quiet. Then I was prompted to ask him what happened, and he said, "Oh, I'm so glad you messaged me. I was in an accident, and you know what? The robbers took my wallet and my cell phone, and I couldn't communicate. Blah blah blah. And can you help me? Can you send me $600?" And so at that point, I knew. I just didn't respond. I just stopped. I just, whatever it is, whatever the case may be, just do not send money. That's how you can best protect yourself. Do not send money.
Catfished. There's actually a show on MTV that's investigating incidents like that. People are, I don't want to use the word praying, but they're actually using online dating to do those things. Thank you for those tips.
And people who do this, people who try to get money from online daters, really target lonely profiles. And lonely profiles are what? Middle-aged people, a little older than middle-aged, obviously lonely, but obviously also they have some money because they've worked enough years in their life. That's the profile. So unfortunately, I'm in that profile too. I mean, maybe people can have that impression that, oh, this person is lonely because she's this age and she looks successful enough. She's probably lonely, and I can probably get her to send me money. So be aware of these things.
You're too beautiful to be lonely, darling.
Thank you.
At this point, let's greet our viewers from our page. So we have Check Sai. Hi Check. Thank you for watching. Miss Jo Kausapin, Jojo Cruzado, Judy Drapista, Mary Grace, Yoli Bravo. Oh, she's from California. And Crisel Thomas. She's from California too. I think Crisel met her love
Let's talk about Californication.
Hey, I want to say hi to friends of mine. So Cheryl is watching from Washington, D.C. Hi, Cheryl. So Jam is watching. She's a good friend of mine. Marlette was on. Renvi. Hi, Renvi.
Renvi says, "Can you send me money, Carmine?"
I don't know if my friends are watching, but if you are, hello.
But have you guys ever had any horror stories on online dating? Like really horror stories? Maybe Matt can share.
No, well,
Do you ever have any stories?
Yeah, online horror stories, to be honest, not really, no. I mean, I can only think of one, like I think I must have met her online, and then we went for a dinner or so, and the conversation was just so cold. Different things that I brought up, she was either not interested or like of an opposing view. Yeah, like
how very British of her.
Yeah. So yeah, just I suppose that, but not really money. I mean, once again, you really got to be discerning about the language that's used in the profile, and I suppose that's part of being an informed person and having your head screwed on properly, if you like. I can see that it can happen. I'm a teacher, so I know there are horror stories, say, with young people, and some of that has come to light with real fatalities and so on. So that you have to be careful in that capacity. In our own children, we have to keep them educated. But yeah, personally, not really, or not. No, I haven't.
Okay, so good to know that you've never actually experienced anything horrifying or anything terrible.
I think the only way to remove the horror and the terror and is to enter an online dating site without any expectations. Because the more expectations you have, the more horror stories you're going to have. You know, if you go out on a date, for example, and you have no expectations for that date, no matter how it turns out, you're like, cool, next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like me, I don't meet up with people unless I've already determined that their IQs are not below sea level. That way, I can more or less make sure that we'll have some conversations that are interesting at least. We can coalesce the vapors of human experience, so to speak. But yeah, it's all about expectations. It's all about expectations. Take everything with a grain of salt, and you should be
Just
fine.
have fun.
Yeah, have fun. It's just like meeting another person, and just get ready to text a friend and say, "Hey, ring me." Oh yeah, okay, I'm on my way. Okay,
Is that
darling,
your
I gotta start
style?
date short. There's an emergency. I, make a pre-arranged signal with a friend.
Guys, what would you advise our viewers when it comes to meeting with one person for the first time? I mean, should it be in a public place? Should it be at noon? Should it be on a weekend? I mean, if you guys have any tips for our viewers, that would really be great. Any thoughts on
Here's
this?
here's here's my tip number one.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Always have an exit strategy. That's my only tip. Always have an exit strategy.
Okay. Thank you, Jovet. Matt, were you saying?
Yeah, so strategies for meeting. Well, certainly I think we talked about like in public. That's a good one. I don't know about the no expectations, because at some stage you do have to, like, I suppose that what we can't see in all of this is the heart. We can't see that person that has come, and life. Here we are sitting. We're online. We're talking. We're very in our minds and so on. But we should never forget that sometimes emotions do get the best of all of us, and so I suppose you really want to meet that person, or please be the one, sort of thing, and you got to keep your heart in control. And I suppose if you believe in God, or you're praying to God, then give God your heart. Trust God that he will provide someone for you in his time. So there's the balance between, yeah, I'd like to meet someone, that's fair to say, but then I'm going to wait for God to bring that person to my life. And it might not happen next week, and it might not happen next, even, there's that patience. You need to practice that patience. We have that balance, we have that harmony in life again, which isn't always easy. Our emotions go up and down. But if we can keep coming back to our prayer life, or some sort of stability, speaking to a good friend, hey, good friend, or mum or dad, our parents are very good, and good friends can be very good. So you say, I've met this person online, this is the profile, or these are some of the reasons why I thought I might meet up with her or him, as the case may be. Yeah, do you reckon that would be, or is this a bit of a red light sort of area? And, I suppose that helps to have, I think that's it, like a relationship coach. I don't think that hurts to share with someone, not everybody, but with someone that can advise. I know you, I know you, and I think you'd be good with that person. Or, look, I'm not sure if that person's going to be good for you, because only recently I've had a good friend, and that marriage has broken up. And like right from the word go, I could see that this is not going to work out. Please, this is not necessarily, I suppose this is more on a relationship level, but online is really, as you're saying, Jova, is the start, because then it's the start of something hopefully beautiful, hopefully long lasting. But sadly, if this person, I know him, if he had just said to me, what do you think? And all of the lights that it's not good. Like, I can just see it. It could be race, it could be just certain things. And yeah, 7 years in the start, or if you like, it's breaking up, and it's a marriage, and so But what is, what do you say to him or her that's falling in love? Stop! It's not good. And then you're like, hang on, love might see him through, and that's so be quiet. Hang on, you might it just doesn't look good on paper. It doesn't look good on paper, but then maybe love can see him through, and be quiet. We have these tensions in ourselves, and yeah, but if the person's not open to your view, well, then it's not going to go anywhere really. So yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Wow.
That's thank you.
Great insights you've got there. Thank you. Um, any perspectives from the lady in the house, Carmine?
Yeah.
I would like to share that, sitting on dating sites, I've never learned so much about myself than I have in others. Okay. This is where I learned what my deal breakers are. This is where I learned what I really like, what I don't like, what I thought I like, but I eventually, it turns out that I don't like it. So yeah, so it's, to me, that's one of the gifts of online dating, aside from gaining friends. Okay, so some of the dates didn't work out. Many chats didn't become actual meetups, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I do my due diligence before I agree to meet someone, and usually you don't even have to do any due diligence. You just have to take the cue from the words that they use, how they address you. When somebody tells me, "Hey, princess," if somebody says hello to me that way, they're gone. That's an ex. I'm not gonna chat with them. I'm just gonna be polite. Not even, no, I'm not. I'm gonna ignore them and unmatch them. And being Filipino, for Filipino woman, there's this stereotype that we are hungry, that we are looking to marry our way out of poverty. That we are uneducated. There's that notion about us, and that's something that I have been very defensive about. So at the onset, I tell them I have a good job, I have a good paying job, I drive my own car, etc., etc. Obviously, I don't look hungry. Yeah, so once these things are clear to you and then to them as well, those who do not like you, those who you do not like, will easily just slide off. They will go away. They don't like you anyway. They know you will not remove your clothes for them. I met someone who said he was looking for a Filipino. I met someone who was saying, he said, "I'm coming to Manila." I said, "What are you going to do here? Are you going to be here for business, or, are you going to be touring the country?" And then he said, "No, I'm looking for a wife." "Why are you looking for a Filipina?" I asked. And he said, "So I can eat whenever I want, sleep whenever I want, and toot whenever I want." So yeah, it's actually offensive, but when I get in those situations, I don't lose it. I remain cool, and say something like, "Okay, there might be some who will sign up for that, but please know that not everyone is like that." And that person unmatched me, unfriended me. And that's okay. You don't have to get into an argument with these people. Just be yourself, be your authentic self. I have another story, if I may. This is a funny one. I met someone who was a few years younger than me. And then after some probing, he admitted that he was actually only 20 years old. Imagine, I'm in my 40s and he's and then I said,
I have no problem with that.
this was through chat. I just laughed, ha 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 ha. And then he goes, "I'm looking for a sugar mommy." I'm like, oh my God, I'm at that age. I'm at that age where I actually meet young men who are looking for a sugar mama. And I said, "No, I'm not interested." He said, "Maybe you have referrals." I said, "No, even if I have referrals, they probably would never admit that they are looking for, somebody like you. So you will get all sorts, is what I'm saying. You will get all sorts. Just don't blow your top. Again, you can't expect to hit it off with everyone. Not everyone is a Prince Charming. So just, keep on going next, and next, and be okay."
Just to add to that, when I got divorced, I shaved my head and I started growing my beard. And yes, the demographic of those that actually go and say hello to me have gotten younger and younger and younger, just like what you were saying. Anyways, back to what you were saying about stressing out. Yes, I agree. Many people tend to really lose their tops on and stress out online. It's important to realize that it is we and we alone that will set the parameters of what will and will not bother us. So knowing that, you might as well just ignore. You know what I mean? Life is too short to dwell on these people who annoy us or may not may have a wrong caricature of what a Filipino or a Filipina is. You know what I mean? It's just too much effort. And I told you, effort is not my middle name. So life is too short. There's no reason to stress out. Life is beautiful.
Just have fun.
Embrace living, embrace happiness, embrace love.
And like you said, online dating is just like passing your resume. It's a foot in the door. It's not the end all of dating.
You know, at the very least, you'll get in a good friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
And meet
Good
people from
I
all over
agree
the
with
world.
that. There are very good, very nice gentlemen out there.
And it's also a good way to learn about other people's culture. And another thing, I guess, is there's no commitment. You just you don't like talking to this person
Yes.
for a few minutes.
Yes.
You just unfriend and then move on to the next one. So it's like
Yes.
speed dating on steroids.
Yes.
It
Yes.
it saves you time. You're just on your bed and you're just browsing through your profile. So it's just
That's
clean.
true. It insulates you from the stress. If you were face to face with someone, and you had, it really insulates you. You know, when you really don't like this person anymore, or you're getting annoyed by this person, online it's just a perfect insulation.
Just block
Click.
them all.
Yes.
Delete profile. Next.
Correct.
That's so cool. I'm learning so much, Miss Tinette. How about you? Are we going to find your Mr. Right guy now online?
To invite our three guests to stay with me for 3 more hours to give me more.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess just one before we close, because I'm sure a lot of our viewers are going to be wanting to reach out to you for questions. I think one thing that I'd like to give emphasis on is the safety aspect of online dating, because especially now with the younger generation getting into it, what advice or what pieces of advice can you give to our younger um, online dating enthusiasts? What
Always meet in public. Always.
Yes.
any safety tips just so they don't get in trouble? Maybe Matt, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I think in some ways, really, we've spoken about it, but to highlight it, it's one is the getting sorted out with your own self, because I think, let's be honest, online dating, I think straight away, maybe predominantly people just want to hook up. So our understanding of trying to find the one is like the profile that you're reading, you really have to recognize, does that person want to find the one, or do they want to hook up? And I don't know, if you just want, so try to discern what you want. And I wouldn't personally suggest that hooking up with people's good, because that's a whole, I suppose, different show, if you like. So we talked about reading the profile and then discerning and understanding what the good profiles are and that you can relate to. I mean, like in my situation, that catholicmatch.com, it already, really gets down to the nuts and bolts of the person that you're looking for, so a lot of
The website did the job for you. The algorithms
America
did the job.
and wanted marriage. So yeah, reading the profile and thinking that is
I think we're losing.
all those ticking all those boxes, again on some then
Yes.
with the
Matthew, we're losing
matching up
you.
when
I
you
think it's,
do eventually meet.
yeah, I think well, if we're live, anything goes. So
Right.
we're just having some technical difficulties with Matt, but it's essentially that you have to just have fun with and suspend your expectations, because the more you expect, like Joey said earlier, the more you expose yourself to heartbreaks. At this point, I'd like to greet some of our viewers. Ms. Rizalina Glazer from London, thank you so much. You're really our avid supporter. And Harold Atondo, thank you so much for your comment. He said nakakakilig ang usapan. So, are you going to find the one online then? So, let's see who else is here. We have Antoinette Santo Domingo Escario. She's one of our consultants as well. Hi, and Tony. Yeah, that's her nickname, Tony. All right. I think Matthew is back. We're just waiting for his video to load.
Okay, what about Carmine when it comes to using tips for the younger generation?
Well, I mean, whether you're young or not so young, my advice would be the same. It's to do your due diligence. I mentioned that earlier. Bong actually made that comment, left a comment, said that due diligence equals
Talking.
Right. But what that actually means is, whatever they tell you, you check it against available information. If you can find their Facebook page or profile or IG account, connect the dots. If they say if he says he has two daughters, then look at the pictures. Do the pictures show that he has two daughters? If he says he's in law enforcement, is there a clue in the profile that he's he's in law enforcement? So these things are important. You can't leave these things to chance. And yes, definitely meet in a public place. Takes courage, to actually put yourself out there. When I first started to get on a dating site, I was quiet for a year. I was just lurking because I was afraid. I even changed my name. I used a different name.
Carmine, did you see your friends there? Like, have you encountered a profile of a friend where you
Yes.
match with a friend?
Well, of course, I do not swipe right on a friend. And no, I don't think I've done that. And if I do, it's a joke, it's to make fun of the situation, like, hey, we're both on this site. But I've seen friends, I usually just leave them alone, live and let live. I've seen a friend who I believe at that time was in a relationship. So to me, that was a question mark. Why are you on this site? Yeah, but yeah, live and let live as well.
Yeah. And also, since you brought up the profile pictures and due diligence, there's such a thing as reverse image search. So you could also see if the person is actually the person he says or she says she is, just by downloading that picture and putting it at reverse image search or tiny eye or something. You could just Google that.
And
At least that's a way to do it.
And I've seen profiles like
I'm
that.
easy. People just have to Google my name, and I've got pictures, and I've got newspaper articles about me. I've got Wikipedia and all that. Everybody could just, they're like, oh.
Or what if somebody's pretending to be you?
Huh?
What if somebody's pretending to be you because
This
you're...
is why a video call is always important, because
That's true.
It will affirm your claim to being whoever you are.
Yeah,
that
has happened to my nephew. He found out that his picture was being used on a dating site. Somebody else was using his picture.
That is pretty scary.
Scary.
Yeah, so Skype, get the Skype info and do video call as soon as you can.
And there are tips, when get on a video call with these people that you match with. I mean, if you're interested enough, right? Get on a video call with them.
With clothes on.
Sorry. With your clothes on. Yes, with your clothes on. And, and if they're understanding, if they're, if they're educated enough, they wouldn't mind raising their hand. Let's say you ask them to raise their right hand because it's a test, right? Whether you're talking to a bot or not, raise your right hand.
Scratch your nose.
People will not mind doing that for you because they know you're just being careful.
Yeah, there's a question here.
Wait. I have an answer to that.
No.
I have stock pictures of me touching my nose, lifting my hand, because so many people keep asking me to send me a pic with you touching your nose. So I already have this permanently on my phone. I just go, send.
It is true. It is
Prepared.
safeguards.
So we have a
video
question.
call is it.
He's asking if is there a funnel to detect right away who the one is? Like, is there like a knockoff factor to really know if the one is the one?
I don't think so.
Question from Donna.
Only time will tell.
From Harold Atondo.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you have to go through good times and bad to be able to tell if that person is the one. So that doesn't happen overnight. You can't even, condense these events into a week, a month, or whatever. It's an entire experience.
You need what are called meaningful experiences together. So you need time where you can talk about things, you can express your ideas, express your thoughts, get to know the person. And when you finally meet, you get to share moments, like simply watching a sunset or I'm being poetic, but there are so many experiences that you can have that are meaningful.
Yeah, I have a question.
It is in the accumulation of these things that you eventually say, this is the person I want to be with for the rest of my life.
What about the extreme case when online he's like the perfect person or she's like the perfect person, and then when you meet, it's like, not. So how do you let the person down gently? I mean, is there a way to just say bye? Because remember, this is face to face already.
This is what I said.
You can't swipe left anyone.
Always have an exit strategy. My exit strategy is very simple. I text a friend and they call me. So I could be on speakerphone and they could say, look, we really need you and back in the office because we have this, and that. It's a script, but because it's on speakerphone, it gives credibility that I gotta go. Goodbye.
But now we know your style, so we would be offended by it.
Trust me, there are more out there that don't know that style yet. But there are numerous creative ways of having an exit strategy. Okay, so from the very get-go, before, let's meet at 3 p.m. But I'm going to apologize early because I have to leave at 4. So that gives you 1 hour to get to know the person. If you really like the person, you can tell them, you know what, I'm just going to call the office and tell them I'm not going back today because I really, really would like to get to know you more. But if that person is weirding you out, you're like, dude, I gotta leave a little early because, I told you by 4 I gotta be in the office. So that's another exit strategy. There are so many creative ways of creating an exit strategy. But an exit strategy does not have to be offensive.
The question is whether you still pay the bill.
You still pay the bill. Or you just leave and scram? Bye.
Okay, Donna, there's a comment from Miss Rizalina Glazer. She says, can you hear me now, Donna?
Yes.
She says, I think it's the leap of the heart and you will know it. Have a plan, plan A and a plan B too.
The leap of the heart is called infatuation.
Yeah, so I guess
it's not love, it's called infatuation. There's an actual term for that.
Yeah, so it's different for each person, I suppose. Because I think Mrs. Glazer also has a very interesting story.
But we have to.
We should be here.
We have to take into consideration that sometimes people are desperate. When you are alone for a very long time, when you have been rejected for numerous times, some people tend to be they tend to be desperate because they need a relationship to boost their self-esteem. So they would grasp the very first thing that comes their way. And sometimes that ends in disaster.
Right. Okay. So, but Jovet, just what other safety tips can you give to our viewers who might be interested to find the one online? Because like Matt,
Don't,
our mind
number
was
one,
here.
don't rush. Don't rush. Take your time. Take your time. There are what almost 10 billion people on this planet. How many people are on the planet? 7 billion or something like that. Don't rush. There's a lot more to meet.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Take your time and have an exit strategy.
I guess Donna, we're
At the end of the day, prudence matters. You know what I mean?
okay.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
This guys, sorry. Mrs. Glazer says, I met my husband in 3 days. Now we're married for 40 years.
Ah, good. You're one of the rare ones, and congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, so
Ultimately, it takes two people to make a relationship work.
okay.
Ultimately, it takes two people. So if
Are
you
we,
are lucky,
Jeanette, are we winding up now? Do we have time for one more question or
Yes, of
aspect?
course.
Sure. So I spoke about a relationship coach. I was wondering what everyone thought about that. Yeah, well, I can imagine that's a good idea, but we haven't heard much about that. And we use coaches in so many parts of life. Is it such a problem to use it in relationships and finding the one?
yes, it is. For me, it's problematic because coaches would tend to tell you what works for them, not what works for you. Again, what I was saying is that we are all individuals. We are all ruled by our upbringing, our background. So there is no one shoe size that fits everyone. That being said, you will really, really need to take things slowly, and only you can determine, what works for you and what not. A coach can be there to guide you, and there are several psychologists out there who can be coaches, but ultimately you'll have to do most of the work. They can only point you in the right direction. They can only show you the door, but eventually you will have to turn the knob and you'll have to go walk through that door. The coach can't do that for you. Yes.
Well, I mean, I can see that you have some reservations about it. I'm wondering, like, but isn't there also a sense that there are similarities too? And if you are trying to find someone, I mean, if you're an outdoor person and you find someone that particularly wants to be indoors and they share that with you share that with the coach can say, oh, are you sure, what a day in, day out, you particularly enjoy going out and this person generally enjoys being in. Do you think that could cause a conflict? I'm not saying it will, but are you prepared to stay indoors more now that you've met this person, looking, and just posing questions? That's all. I mean, I suppose
it goes back to what I was saying. You should date someone with the same interests. If you've got opposing interests, it's going to just create conflict. And why pay for a coach? It's cheaper just to find someone who thinks like you. Save the dollars.
Or falling in love is chance. Falling in love happens by chance, but staying in love is a choice. So you could really decide to just stay indoors if you really love that person, but it would take time to figure that out. So
I used to be a high sensation seeker. I jump off airplanes and go up mountains, go scuba diving, go all around the world. But I'm older now, and I really enjoy sitting on the couch. I mean,
your needs change
having a conversation, watching the sunset with a glass of wine. I mean, we change. We do change.
Your joints can't take it anymore.
Yeah, just because I like something today doesn't mean that 5 years from now I'd like the same thing.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Guys, we're really learning a lot from the three of you, and thank you so much for sharing so much. Your stories, your tips, your your
Insight.
lessons learned. I think these are very helpful to me and Donna, and of course our I guess at this point, we need to have a part two for this one, because we have
Yeah.
a lot of,
Are we
Even
going to talk about
Galena said
sex?
this is a
Are we going
great
to talk
topic.
about sex in part 2?
but yeah, but we don't. Sorry, I missed that. What did he say?
Are we going to talk about R18 stuff or?
Yeah, so we learned so much from you guys, but I guess just to wrap up, Donna, maybe you'd like to share just a few more tips before we close the session.
Yeah, well, just to summarize everything that our panelists said, it's really just a matter of knowing yourself first, knowing what you want, knowing why you're doing what you're doing, knowing why you're going into online dating. And then once you're there, just be honest, just be truthful about your intentions. And then if you find somebody that interests you and then he happens or she happens to like you too, then just go for it, just go out, but do not expect that that person is already the one, because as Jovis says, you have to have a physical connection or positive experiences with that person before being sure, and maybe even after going out for a year or two, maybe it will not work too. So just have fun, chill, love yourself before you love others, and tune in to our next session. There's going to be a part two, because 1.5 hours is not enough to talk about online dating for for everyone.
Yes, you can never really also scrap off yung pagiging respectful. Being respectful is very important, di ba? So let's be polite, even if the other person is not very respectful, just as what our guest said today, just politely decline and then just cut it off, right?
Move on.
Not for us to fight back or to be rude or start a scene or anything like that. Okay. All right. Well, Carmine, Jovit, and Matt, thank you so much for your time. 1.5 hours went by so quickly.
Yeah,
Thank
that
So,
is so.
our session, right?
Yeah, I had brunch while this was all going.
So,
I actually started my day right.
thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us your stories. And to all our viewers, thank you so much as well. Please stay tuned to more of our webinars next week. And yeah, so with that, Donna, thank you also for joining me this afternoon. And I do hope that you will find the love of your life. As much
Likewise to you too.
as the love of
Here's what I have to say. If you don't find the love of your life, always think that there is one person that will love you unconditionally, and that is God. So God loves you all. Remember that.
Yeah. Amen. And with that, please remember to like and subscribe our channel on YouTube. That's Consult Asia Global. And go to our Facebook page. If you like this topic, tune in so you could be updated for our future topics. So again, thank you so much and happy weekend, guys. And I hope that you stay safe. If you don't have to go out, stay home.
May I add, I also have a
Thank you
new
very much.
YouTube channel. It's called Jovit Moya. And every Sunday, I post a little discussion about the Bible and a little bit about Christian lives and how we should live our life. So, if you're interested in that, go, I've only had 2 videos. It's only been up for 2 weeks. So as we go along, every Sunday, I'm going to post another video, okay?
That's good. So that's Jovit Moya. Is that at YouTube?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to find right now because there's only like 2 videos. But as we go along, I hope people will find it. On my Facebook, I've got a link there, so people just have to scroll my posts.
Yeah. We could also put a link on the comment section so they could find it.
Okay, yeah, I discuss living according to the Bible. Like for example, obedience of the Virgin Mary. Things like those, and lots of other things.
You're really versatile. From one end.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to discuss different things.
Okay, so we have to wrap
I'm
up.
also on Instagram, so now I'm promoting myself. Find me on Instagram.
Jovit. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Carmine. And thanks to you, Donna. And thanks to
Thank
all
you.
of us. Guys, have a blessed Saturday and a great week ahead.
You
Bye.
too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.